Last spring, my niece called me in a panic because she had found small moths flying out of her pantry every time she opened the cabinet door. She had already spent $40 on pheromone traps from the hardware store, replacing them twice because the package told her to. The moths kept coming back, sometimes more of them than before. I told her something that surprised her. The traps were never going to solve her problem because traps catch adult moths after they have already mated and laid eggs throughout her pantry. By the time she saw a moth fluttering near her kitchen light, the actual damage had already been done weeks earlier, hidden inside boxes she had not yet opened. What she needed was not a trap. She needed prevention. My name is Franny. I have not had a pantry moth or a weevil in my kitchen in over 20 years, and I'm about to give you 23 specific prevention methods that farmers used before pesticides existed. Methods that work by stopping infestation before it starts, rather than catching insects after the damage is already done. Stay until the end, because the final method is the one that the $12 trap industry has the least interest in you discovering, since it makes their product completely unnecessary. Here is the part that might bother some people. The pantry pest control industry profits from a cycle, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Traps catch some adult moths, which feels like progress. They do not catch eggs or larvae already established in your grain, which is where the actual infestation lives. The infestation continues at a slower, less visible rate because some adults are being removed from circulation. You see fewer moths flying around your kitchen, conclude the traps are working as advertised, and buy more traps next month to keep up the progress. Meanwhile, the actual source of the problem, eggs that arrived hidden in your groceries before you ever brought them home, continues hatching quietly inside sealed boxes you have not even opened yet. The traps were never designed to solve the problem at its root, and they were never marketed honestly as a complete solution. They were designed to be purchased repeatedly, month after month, for as long as you keep believing they are the answer. Number 1 is the freezer purge, and it is the single most important method on this list. Any grain product brought home from the store, flour, rice, oats, cornmeal, dried beans, cereal, even pasta, goes into the freezer for 72 hours before it touches your pantry shelf. This kills weevil and moth eggs at every stage of development because insect eggs cannot survive sustained freezing temperatures regardless of the developmental stage they are in. Most infestations begin with eggs already present in store-bought grain, deposited during processing, transport, or warehouse storage, completely invisible to the naked eye, simply waiting for warmth and time to hatch. Number 2 is bay leaves, placed whole and dry inside every grain container you own. Bay leaves contain a compound called eucalyptol that disrupts the nervous systems of grain beetles and repels moth larvae from establishing themselves in the first place. 1 or 2 leaves per container is sufficient, replaced when they lose their distinct scent, which is typically every 6 to 12 months, depending on storage conditions. Number 3 is whole cloves, placed not inside the grain itself, but in small dishes in the back corners of pantry shelves. Cloves contain eugenol, a different compound from eucalyptol, which repels adult pantry moths from landing and laying eggs anywhere in the vicinity. A small dish of 6 to 8 whole cloves per shelf section provides continuous protection for several months. Number 4 is airtight glass storage for every dry good in your pantry. Cardboard boxes and paper bags are not barriers to insects at all. Moths can chew directly through cardboard and lay eggs inside sealed boxes that look completely untouched from the outside. Every grain product transferred to glass or thick food-grade plastic with a true rubber gasket seal removes this entry point entirely, regardless of what packaging the product originally arrived in. Number 5 is food-grade diatomaceous earth, lining the bottom of large grain storage containers in a thin layer beneath the food itself. The microscopic glass-like particles puncture the exoskeletons of any insects that do hatch, killing them through dehydration rather than any chemical mechanism, which means there is no resistance possible over time. Number 6 is cedar blocks or cedar chips kept in small, breathable cotton sachets placed near pantry shelves. Cedar contains natural compounds that repel a wide range of pantry pests simultaneously and lasts for years if lightly sanded periodically to refresh the released scent. Number 7 is bitter herb sachets, dried lavender, dried mint, or dried rosemary, tied in small cheesecloth bundles and tucked into pantry corners and shelf edges. These strong aromatic herbs interfere with the chemical scent trails that moths use to locate viable food sources, essentially making your pantry difficult for them to navigate. Number 8 is the rotation rule, which is simple but consistently ignored. Buy only what you will realistically use within 60 to 90 days and always use older stock before newer stock, moving new purchases to the back. Grains sitting untouched for many months gives any present eggs the maximum possible time to hatch and establish a colony. Fast, consistent rotation interrupts the insect life cycle before it can complete. Number 9 is regular shelf inspection, done thoroughly rather than glanced at. Once a month, every single container gets pulled out, checked underneath and behind for fine webbing, tiny holes, or a fine powdery residue, which are the first visible signs of infestation, often appearing weeks before you would ever see an adult moth flying through your kitchen. Number 10 is the vinegar wipe down, done monthly on every pantry shelf surface, not just when something spills. A 50-50 solution of white vinegar and water removes invisible pheromone trails left behind by any previous insect activity and discourages new moths from settling in the same location where others have been before. Number 11 is proper ventilation, which most people never consider for a pantry. Pantries that run warm and humid create ideal breeding conditions for both moths and weevils. A small fan run for 30 minutes once a week, or simply keeping the pantry door cracked open when the kitchen allows it, meaningfully reduces the humidity level that pest eggs require to develop successfully. Number 12 is the newspaper liner method, replacing standard shelf paper. Shelf paper traps moisture and fine crumbs underneath it, creating a hidden breeding environment you cannot easily see or inspect. Plain newspaper, changed every few months, does not trap moisture the same way shelf paper does, and is far easier to lift and inspect underneath at any time. Number 13 is bulk grain storage, specifically in metal containers rather than plastic ones. Metal canisters, particularly those with airtight gasket lids, are completely impenetrable to chewing insects in a way that even thick plastic sometimes is not, especially as plastic ages over years of use and develops microscopic cracks that insects can exploit. Number 14 is the immediate quarantine of any new bulk purchase before it joins your existing supply. Before a large bag of flour, rice, or grain joins your established pantry stock, it sits separately, ideally after completing its freezer treatment, for an additional week of observation. This single step prevents one infested bulk purchase from compromising your entire pantry at once. Number 15 is bay leaf placement specifically at entry points, not just inside containers, door seals, vent openings, any gap where pantry moths might enter from outside the home or from another part of the house entirely. This creates a perimeter barrier in addition to the inside container protection you have already established. Number 16 is using whole black peppercorns as a secondary deterrent. About a tablespoon of whole peppercorns, tied in cheesecloth, placed inside larger grain containers alongside your bay leaves, doubles the repellent effect, since peppercorns work through an entirely different active compound than the eucalyptal in bay leaves. Number 17 is the seasonal deep clean, done twice a year without exception. Every pantry shelf is completely emptied, vacuumed thoroughly in every crack and corner, wiped down with vinegar solution, and allowed to dry completely before anything is returned to the shelf. This catches any developing infestation well before it becomes visible to the eye. Number 18 is keeping pet food under the same protective system you use for human grain products. Dry pet food is one of the most commonly overlooked entry points for pantry moths, since it is grain-based and is frequently stored in its original paper bag for many months at a time. The same airtight container and freezer purge rule applies here exactly as it does to your own groceries. Number 19 is checking imported or specialty grain products with particular care, since longer supply chains and longer storage times before retail sale meaningfully increase the likelihood of a pre-existing infestation already present when you purchase the item. A 72-hour freeze is non-negotiable for anything imported, regardless of how well packaged it appears. Number 20 is the use of a small sealed entryway cabinet for any newly purchased dry goods before they are unpacked into the main pantry system. This keeps any potential contamination contained to one small, easily monitored space rather than risking exposure to your entire pantry inventory at once. Number 21 is thoroughly washing all storage containers with hot soapy water and drying them completely before refilling every single time a container is emptied, rather than simply pouring new product on top of any residue which can harbor eggs surviving from a previous infestation you may not have fully resolved. Number 22 is monitoring pantry temperature consistently. Pantries kept below 70 degrees Fahrenheit significantly slow the reproductive cycle of both moths and weevils, both of which thrive specifically in the 75 to 90 degree range. A pantry located near a heat source, such as behind a refrigerator or near a furnace vent, is a measurably higher risk location and deserves extra attention. And now, number 1, the method the trap industry has the least interest in you ever discovering, because if you implement this correctly, you will genuinely never need to purchase another trap again. It is the complete integrated system used together as a whole rather than as scattered individual tricks. No single method on this entire list, used alone, fully prevents infestation on its own. Pheromone traps fail consistently because they address only adult moths after eggs have already been laid throughout your pantry. But the freezer purge, combined with bay leaves and cloves placed in every single container, combined with true airtight glass storage, combined with monthly inspection and consistent rotation, used together as one integrated system rather than as isolated individual tricks, closes every stage of the insect life cycle simultaneously and completely. Eggs arriving hidden in your groceries are killed by freezing before they ever reach your shelf at all. Any survivors that somehow remain are repelled from laying further eggs by the bay leaf and clove compounds working continuously. Any larvae that somehow do hatch cannot escape truly airtight containers to spread further. And consistent monthly inspection catches anything unexpected before it becomes a visible problem requiring a $12 trap to manage symptoms rather than actually solving the underlying cause. This is exactly the integrated system that farmhouse pantries relied on for well over a century, long before synthetic pesticides and disposable cardboard traps were marketed to American households as the modern solution to a problem that simple free prevention had already solved generations earlier. The total cost of building this complete system from scratch, bay leaves, whole cloves, black peppercorns, a few glass containers you likely already own, and a small bag of food-grade diatomaceous earth comes to somewhere between $8 and $15, depending on what you already have on hand in your kitchen, and it lasts for months before anything needs replacing. Compare that to the trap industry's model, where a single household buying replacement traps every month spends well over $100 a year and never actually resolves the underlying issue, because the traps were never built to resolve it. They were built to be repurchased. I want to be completely honest with you about one important limitation, because I would rather you trust me than be impressed by me. If you already have an active infestation right now, if you are currently seeing adult moths flying in your kitchen, these prevention methods on their own will not eliminate an existing problem that has already taken hold. You need to first empty the pantry completely, discard any compromised packaging without hesitation, vacuum every surface thoroughly, and wipe everything down with a vinegar solution before beginning this prevention system from a clean starting point. Prevention is extremely effective at stopping new infestations before they begin. It does not retroactively fix an infestation that is already actively underway. Do the deep clean first every time, and only then build this system on top of it. This Saturday, I want you to walk through your pantry with fresh eyes, the way you would if you were seeing it for the first time. Pick up every single box and bag of grain product you currently own and check carefully along the bottom and corners for any sign of fine webbing, tiny holes, or unusual residue. Then start with the two easiest steps on this entire list. Buy bay leaves and whole cloves, both well under $3 total at any grocery store, and transfer your most frequently used grains into anything genuinely airtight that you already own at home. Even mismatched jars from your cabinet will do for now. That alone addresses the majority of what actually causes pantry infestation in the first place before you even need to think about the rest of the system, and you can build out the remaining methods gradually over the following weeks as time allows. Drop in the comments and tell me whether you have dealt with pantry moths or weevils before, and which of these 23 methods you are planning to start with first. I genuinely want to know what is actually working for people across different climates and different kitchens, because conditions vary so much from one home to another. If this video saved you from buying yet another $12 trap that was never actually going to solve the real underlying problem, hit that like button right now, because every single like tells the algorithm that real useful knowledge deserves to be seen by more people who need it.